Hey, today I'm going to be giving you an up-close look on how I shoot real estate video. Alright guys, so I'm going to be shooting in my own house. I'm going to use my living room and my kitchen to show you how I shoot real estate video. I'm not saying my way is the best way, but it has helped me grow a pretty successful business over the last decade and use real estate to get to the next level of my business. So the first thing I like to do when I get to a house is, and this doesn't happen at every house, it just kind of depends on the location and the homeowner, but if I can, I will turn off every single light in the house. I like a really natural look, and I like to use the color that I've picked. When you have the lights on, they're most likely the yellow lights. The way they're positioned, especially the can lights on the ceiling, it causes a crazy glare when you're trying to pan through a room. So I just try to avoid that as much as possible, and if possible, turn off every light in the house. As you can see here, I shoot with the DJI Ronin, and I use this Laowa. It is a 15mm f4 wide angle lens. I'm shooting on the Sony A7s. I also shoot on this Quantarray 19 to 35mm. I'm also using an edelkrone slider, and I'll show you how I incorporate that in a second. So one of my biggest pro tips for shooting a house is to shoot in order. This helps for a couple of reasons. One, it makes sure that you get everything in the house, and two, it helps your editing. And three, when you shoot a lot of houses, sometimes I'm shooting 4 or 5 houses in a day, I don't always remember if the master was upstairs or downstairs or where a certain bedroom was. So shooting in order helps me remember how the house is laid out. And that way, when I go to edit it, I'm not putting things in the wrong place. First thing I like to do with a room is get all of my wide shots. Try to get it from as many angles as I can, knowing that I won't use them all, but it'll give me the coverage that I need. Some shots just don't need to be filmed, so I will skip them sometimes. But if I'm not sure about a shot, I'll go ahead and get it and then make the decision in the edit. After I get all my wide shots, that's when I use the edelkrone slider and get some close-up shots of some accent pieces. Sometimes I'll even use the Ronin to get a close-up shot of the fireplace, but most of the time I am using the slider. I tend to stay away from accent stuff, stuff that the stager or the homeowner might have put in, mainly because it won't be there when the new owner buys the house. Yeah, it's a nice, cute little shot, but those books aren't coming with the house, so what's the point? As you can see from this shot, I also like to pan down or pan up as I'm moving through a room. This just gives you a solid feel of how the room is laid out. It also is a nice cinematic touch, so you're not seeing the same boring push in or pull out or slide left or slide right every time. It gives some, depth to the video. I'm also shooting 30 frames per second on here so that I can slow it down and get more of a smooth look. Sometimes for close-up shots, I'll switch to 120, but with this camera, that drops me down to 1080. So it just kind of depends on what you're looking for and what works best. One of the things I really like to do when I'm establishing the room is to start from one end, go through, and then I'll start turning to where when my shot ends, I'm now looking back where I started from. I think this really gives the viewer a good sense of how the room is laid out, how big the room is, where everything is in the room. Here's another creative shot where it starts out at this upward angle, and then as I come down, I turn and center up on the kitchen. One of the reasons why I chose to show you shooting a kitchen is there's a lot of details in the kitchen, so I can really use my edelkrone slider to show off those details. Another thing I do that can be kind of awkward when you're filming in someone's home and their home is I like to turn the water on all the faucets. That just kind of helps show that you're actually watching a video and kind of gives you something to focus on and more than just, panning through another room. I also like to turn on the stovetop. Sometimes I'll actually get the real estate agent or actor or a homeowner to be in shot turning it on just to give some action for the scene. As you can see here, I used 120 frames per second and got a really nice slow pan. Me personally, I really love symmetry. I don't know what it is. The Wes Anderson comes out in me a little bit when I'm filming a house, and I like to see really symmetrical lines and things centered up. So I tend to lean towards that when I can. Another thing I do to help the video is I'll actually put the agent or an actor in the video talking about the house, walking through the house. What I do is I'll come in and I'll say, hey, let's pick out 2 or 3 rooms that you think have a lot of features that you really want to sell, and I'll take them into each room and I'll say, hey, let's form a sentence that kind of knocks out all 3 things, and I'll have them walk through the house and talk about them. Just gives it a nice feel and helps the viewer to not get bored and learn some things about the house as well. And that's kind of how I shoot a house in a nutshell. I'm sure there's some things I left out and some things that you probably do differently, but I thought this would give you a good head start and just kind of give you a little bit of knowledge from someone who's been doing it for a decade plus now. Thanks for watching this video. If you could do me a favor and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, tell me what you did or didn't like about this video, or what you'd like for me to cover in the next video. And if you could also hit that bell button, that'll notify you when I do put up another video for you. Thanks.